We are live, San Francisco, getting into this one, Jat. I can't wait.
All right, so here we go. TSM has a defensive strategy here. They're trying to dodge the blitz hooks as Lemonation fires that one into the brush. Not really going for anything aggressive level 1 like I thought they might. They're playing really conservative here. Orbit's the one's pressing.
Yeah, great ward by Lemonation to help track the odd one, and TSM actually putting a ward in their blue as well to make sure that there isn't any invade. But looks like Orb's just going to settle in for more traditional startup with Shyvana. She likes to run that Wraiths red combination X special, getting a little brave, potentially putting a ward in. Yes, he does. So a lot of ward placements to get that early vision on these junglers and their starts.
Just a bit of a counter ward there. They're matching Orbit's ward that they've put on their side. So here we have both junglers will get seen every time they go to do their wraiths, and that'll give the laners of both respective teams a lot of just general safety when they know the health, resources, and level of the jungler when they decide to do wraiths. And even for this, they know exactly where they're starting on Shyvana, and they're going to try to steal this. He got it!
They do. Reginald loves that play. He loves being able to steal that blue wraith. It really sets the tone for the match.
Move.
It is a jerk move, but it's also really beneficial for Reginald.
Oh, so effective.
Just to run down as we see Hai grabbing that red buff. Top lane, we've got Yuzuki on Vladimir facing off against Dyrus on Rumble. Yuzuki running that heal, so he's definitely going to be ready to take some punishment. Mid lane, Nubby Pooh Bear on Rise against Reginald on Ahri in the jungle. Hai on Shyvana. Reginald getting aggressive early, as is his playstyle. Hai is going to be facing off against Odd One on that CC heavy Nautilus. And bottom lane, Sona Corki Chaos X Special versus Nien and Lemonation on Ezreal Blitzcrank. There are going to be some serious fireworks bottom lane. Looks like Hai's going in for some early aggression. Reginald having to flash in. He does get exhausted.
Ooh.
Great flash snare, and that's early first blood for Hai. Great opening statement by Orbit.
Yeah, that was actually really interesting as we see a lot of aggression coming down from both lanes. They go on to Chaos, and they're not going to be able to quite get him. But Reginald, having stolen that Wraith, holy crap.
Oh, wow,
All
and
right.
Forcing the flash. Nien and Lemonation being so aggressive, so Orbit pulling ahead already. They have a little bit of a gold lead and that first blood.
Right, so that gold lead in the middle, Reginald had the Wraith, so that means he hit level 2 first, and he was trying to bully Rise really, really, really hard. But that left him open to the exhaust gank from Shyvana, and it just converted right away. We were talking in, the really long pregame we had about how Reginald likes to make a lot of risks early, and TSM in general does because they can snowball their advantages so well. But the fact that those backfired on them pretty horribly thus far, and they're at an 800 gold disadvantage, they already have to come back into this game because dying that early is really, really bad.
Yeah, we had actually talked about that as well, that they are a high-risk team, and it can sometimes blow up in their faces, and I think that was just a well-manufactured gank by Hai. Reginald maybe pushing a little bit too hard, but the way that Hai timed that exhaust right after the flash from Reginald allowed him to get that amount of damage down. So Orbit, going against my initial prediction that TSM would be able to make an early statement and use this game as a sort of warm-up for the rest of the tournament, Orbit thinking other things.
So here we have Nubby Pooh Bear looking in the middle lane, just getting the ward down. There's another gank coming in from Hai. TSM a little bit on their heels, but that's only a 500 gold disadvantage.
Certainly Yuzuki trying to put some pain down, but Dyrus as Rumble going to be able to bully Odd One, not being seen by that ward.
This would be good if Rise was in lane, but Rise is actually off taking jungle creeps.
Unfortunately, he is taking those wolves. Nien and Chaos trying to jockey for position, especially being really aggressive on that Sona. Sona has so much poke with that passive as well as being able to use that Q, and it looks like she's going to be aggressive. Odd One could potentially convert a kill because
it would have to be a tower dive, or they'd have to wait for them to push in. The looking at Team Solo Mid's creeps there, they're getting close to the tower, and this is just a lot of action. It's so much early damage coming down from Hai. Will they be able to get Dyrus? No.
No, they won't. Great play from Dyrus being able to get out there. He is actually, Rumble is a surprisingly mobile champion with that shield giving him a bit of a speed boost. And looking at these lanes just starting off, Nubby Pooh Bear, 28 minion kills to Reginald's 25, so they're pretty even. However, Nubby Pooh Bear does have, as we see, a tower dive. Yuzuki able to pull out and Hai going in, tanking the tower. Will he be able to land this hit to be able to take him out? Yes, he will. Hai is 2-0 and trying to take control of this match early.
Just a lot of good ganks coming out here as Reginald tries to roam up at level 4. Going to be a lot of juking that comes around in this brush.
This could be trouble. Reginald landing this charm, and he does get the Ignite off. Yuzuki following extremely low. However, Nubby Pooh Bear did follow him. Odd One going low, Ignite going down as well, and it looks like both teams are just going to back off. Great roam from both of these mids.
Dude, this is a really good early play by Orbit. They're taking it to TSM with the pull on X special. They're not going to be able to trade kills with a great exhaust. And, man, look at this. They're getting away 3 kills to 0 now, and they're just really taking advantage of TSM sleeping on a lot of this. They're just getting munched on.
They certainly are, and Orbit actually following dangerously low. Chaos trying to convert a kill on that, but 3-0, 8,200 gold to 6,600 gold in favor of Orbit Gaming. TSM's really going to have to wake up if they want to turn this game around.
Yeah, the big thing that they're going to try to wake up with now, Odd One has Boots of Mobility, so he's not going for GB10. He's saying, hey, we're behind. I need to start making my ganks and my presence larger. So that's something I've been seeing a lot more of on things like Maokai or Alistair, just getting Boots of Mobility almost right away and then just trying to take it to laners. And Odd One bought those Boots of Mobility. He needs to start ganking because they really need it now. Every lane actually has given up a kill.
Yeah, every lane pretty far behind. However, looking at Chaos's minion kills, he's actually 51 to Nien's 36. So
that's good.
Despite being behind and X Special getting caught, Chaos still having pretty consistent farm. And we see him picking up the Doran's Blades and a ward. So he definitely does not want High able to come in and make something happen in his jungle. Or, sorry, in the bottom lane. High actually picking up those Madrid's Razors, so he's off to a fantastic start. He's level 5 already. Top lane, Yuzuki, 32 minion kills to Dyrus's 39. Dyrus just going for those Sorcerer's Shoes, so he's going to try and bully this top lane early.
Every lane for Team Solomid, aside from mid, actually has the minion kill advantage despite being down a kill. So they have been bullying and playing aggressive. It's really just been Orbit and High's especially punishment of that aggressive play. And that's going to continue happening here because once Shyvana hits level 6, if he just manages to shadow where the Odd One goes, they're going to be able to continue to snowball this. It's only when Odd One gets a gank and Shyvana's not there to support that it's going to convert and let TSM start to come back, because right now, Orbit has all the control.
They certainly do. Nien actually picking up a Phage, so he is looking to go super aggressive early and also potentially mitigate some of that Corki mobility that we had talked about earlier. Corki having that dash, being able to get out of a sticky situation. And another hook being landed. There's the Valkyrie that we talked about. Lemonation getting exhausted. Odd One landing the hook. There's the ultimate. Lemonation is knocked up. He's in a whole heap of trouble. However, Odd One going extremely low. Chaos is able to pick him up. Odd One getting out of there alive. Chaos is not going to be so lucky. However, here comes Reginald with Nubby Pooh Bear hot on his heels, and Reginald going to be able to pick up Nien.
Nice.
I think that's what TSM needed to get back into this match.
That was really nice. They got Shyvana, who was in a strange place, and they did not have to worry about the counter gank. So the Odd One, good gank, got the speed from Boost Mobility, getting down to that bottom lane. Then the good roam by Reginald to make sure that things went right, because if he wasn't down there, that would have been just a strict 1-for-1, and it wouldn't have really gained Orbit anything. So smart play there by Reginald, and High's able to steal the red, but that doesn't really matter against Nautilus. One last thing I actually want to correct here. Team Solomid did win their last Team Solomid Invitational. Thank you very much, Reddit.
Yes,
and
Reddit.
we did not want to misinform the community with those kind of shenanigans.
Absolutely. 9 minutes in. Orbit still with about a 1,000 gold lead, 11,800 gold to 10,900 gold for TSM. Orbit in the lead, 4 kills to 2. Nubby Pooh Bear picking up that blue buff. But something going back to that bottom lane gank, a great play by Reginald was actually to flash away from Nubby Pooh Bear. He saw him coming down, and instead of getting snared, he was able to flash through and pick up that kill. So TSM, we talked about them wanting global presence, and Ari, as that kind of mobile champion, is really going to be able to roam, and Reginald is trying to do what we expected him to do. Push the lane with that orb and be able to roam top lane, bottom lane, and it looks like bottom lane definitely seeing a lot of fireworks.
That was the first example of Reginald's playstyle. One of the things he does more than almost any other North American mid is he will roam down bottom lane pretty much all the time. So trying to get KX a little bit fed, that lane's still very close. The Blitzcrank being very aggressive, and here comes High onto Dyrus. Dyrus flashing away. It looks like they're going to look to tower dive this, but Dyrus just putting down all the stops, gets the ult down, slows him down.
That was a great play by Dyrus to use his ultimate. They also forced the flash out. Odd One is there to try and potentially counter gank, but it doesn't look like that's going to be happening. Odd One, his ultimate is not up yet. But great play from Hai, not necessarily getting a kill, but forcing a couple summoners out of Dyrus.
Looking at CS a little bit here. Getting pretty close there. Chaos up 70-63. Top lane, 60 for Vladimir, 67 for Rumble. And we could see a fight here. Both junglers in the brush. Looks like I was just going to get the heck out of there because Reggie came up.
Yeah, Reggie walking through that ward, so he did get seen. Looks like Hai's going to back off. However, Nubby Pooh Bear is coming up, and Hai may be looping around to try and make something happen. Looks like they're just going to back off. Smart play from Orbit. Bottom lane, Nien trying to cleanse out of it, and that is a double kill for Chaos. He is now 3-1, and in addition to that minion kill advantage, he is now starting to pull ahead of that Nien Lemonation combination. So potentially a little bit of a backfire with that Blitzcrank Ezreal aggression.
It looks like X Special just hit an amazing Sona ult onto both of them and was able to burst them down. They were kind of all in with their aggression, and the biggest thing that actually happened there is X Special went for a Heart of Gold very early on. Not even didn't even get boots because he was expecting that type of brawl. So look at this. Orbit came out to a really huge 3-0 lead. Team Solomon gets the Dragon, gets the double kill bottom lane. They're now even in kills and up on gold.
We did say that TSM would have to wake up, and that's exactly what they did. Swapping
might have woken up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. It is still in the morning, a little bit, 10:51 a.m. California time. 15,700 gold for TSM to 14,500 gold to Orbit. TSM first Dragon of this Game 1 best-of-3 series. And Chaos not only has been able to get ahead in minion kills, but we'll see how he's going to be building out. Yep, there's the Triforce. He's starting out the Triforce, getting that Phage. So he's going to be giving Ezreal a little bit of a taste of his own medicine. And talking a little bit more about this bottom lane, Nien and Lemon Nation, we talked about them having that all-in style, and TSM was just able to turn around and punish it.
Yeah, that had to be a misplay by Orbit there. They wanted to get super aggressive, but it appears that they cannot win those straight-up fights while the Sona ult is up. So if they want to get aggressive here, they have to do it pretty much in the next 30 seconds. Otherwise, X Special and Chaos are going to out-trade them, or they have to wait for a Shyvana gank, because even though they had that quick advantage, clearly going all in is not going to work for them, and that's going to be a pretty big issue for them as this game progresses.
It certainly will. Looking at the jungler for a little bit, Odd1 actually picking up Boots of Mobility, Philosopher's Stone, and an Oracles. This is something we saw from Snoopy when he ran his jungle Alistar, where he wanted to get super fast. He wanted to get that early gold generation, but not only that, he wants to get that vision, because Hai has his Oracles already, and Orbit is taking full advantage, stealing TSM's
yeah,
blue.
4-man invade here. They have the Oracles. They put the ward on the blue buff, so they know they didn't get seen on the way in, and Team Solomon has no vision on any of these 4 guys, so a quick, easy blue steal, and now they might look to try to get a dive, because Chaos is getting aggressive, and they were not following them back to the bottom lane, so they're not going to be able to get this one.
Oh, and Lemon Nation actually just missing that by a pixel. He almost got the grab on KX. However, KX does have that Valkyrie, so he would be able to dash right out. Great play from Orbit, getting that aggression. Odd1 coming in. Will we potentially see a gank top lane?
Odd1 also having the Oracles, as you mentioned, so wards were fairly heavy on the map. They're starting to disappear and get eaten. They actually are looking to dive here, because the Odd1 coming in from the back, he would not do this unless he's diving, and here we go.
We could see something happening. Odd1 going in. He does land the snare down. Yuzuki dropping the ultimate on Dyrus, trying to turn this around, and it looks like the Odd1 is just going to back off. The Ezreal ultimate coming in as well to try and give a little bit of assistance, but it doesn't look like it's going to be of any use. Meanwhile, mid lane, Reginald getting Ignite burned down on him, but he is going to walk away alive. Lemon Nation just missing these hooks bottom lane.
I'm not really sure what the logic was on that dive, because they didn't even get close to doing anything to Yuzuki. They mainly only burned Yuzuki's ultimate. I suppose that's a success for 60% of Darius' health, but now we have Orbit invading the red. Darius is already low, and they're going to have a fight in the jungle right now.
Uh-oh, Odd1 getting... So he's going to get taken out almost immediately. Nubby Pooh Bear, great roam. Reginald is low health. Darius is in a whole heap of trouble. The Ignite is down. Great jump from Hai, and Hai
really
is
nice.
3-0-1. Reginald finally coming back in. Unfortunately, he is too late. And I got to say, Jat, great pressure by Orbit onto Reginald to allow them to have that fight.
I'm just curious why the Odd1 decided to hook in. He should have known that there were 3 people there, because there were just 2 people up in the top lane that ganked him. Even if it was a 2v2, that would have been a bad thing to hook into, since Rumble was sitting so low. Ryze had also been missing in action for quite a long time, so he should have assumed that he was there. Not a heady play there by the Odd1. Didn't want to get his jungle stolen, and sometimes you panic a little bit like that when you're getting your jungle taken like that, and he's already a little bit behind. He's level 7 to Hai's level 9 at this point. But losing his oracles after getting one before you have your 2 gold generation items is a big, big loss. And Nautilus's tankiness now as this game moves on is going to be pretty low since he's lost that early oracles, and it's going to take him a lot longer to ramp up.
Yeah, that death is certainly going to hurt him. Looking at his items, he's still trying to get that heart of gold. He got the ruby crystal, but until he gets that gold generation, he is still going to be very, very, very behind. However, looking at top lane, Dyrus does not have the spell vamp. We had actually talked about getting Dyrus down to 60%, and initially I was going to say, well, that's okay, he'll spell vamp it back, because the traditional build with Rumble is going to be that Hextech Revolver, and he can just heal it up using that Flame Spit or Harpoon spam. But now he has the Haunting Guys, so he's trying to be aggressive, and he does have that magic penetration, but he's not going to be able to have as much sustain, so could potentially be a little bit vulnerable with those ganks.
The Haunting Guys and Sorcerer Shoes is something we're seeing a big trend towards. Looks like they're actually getting a little aggressive here with Shyvana coming into Reginald. But before that happens, the Rumble build with the straight-up Magic Pen is what all the Europeans have been doing as well.
Yeah, we see Reginald being forced to burn his ultimate and Hai not really having to burn anything. So Hai, just his presence is putting so much pressure on these lanes. Great play from him overall.
The other one has been sitting in the top lane. They're trying to put a lot of attention onto ganking Yuzuki on Vladimir. It has not paid off thus far. They haven't gotten a kill. It's actually cost them a lot, and Odd One's falling farther and farther behind. Of all the lanes to gank, ganking the Spirit Visage Spell Vamp Vladimir doesn't seem that wise to me. I think that Odd One should go elsewhere because he's just going to pool away from every gank, and that was a full minute Odd One lost waiting in that brush. Vladimir's just going to pull your hook. Like, that is what's going to happen with those ganks. He needs to go elsewhere if he wants to pull something off.
Unfortunately, Vladimir, with that pool, being able to duck the hook, so to speak. Odd One still falling farther and farther behind. Looking at Hai, by comparison, he's 3-0-1, 89 minion kills. He has his wriggles, and it looks like he's building into an Aegis of the Legion. And Odd One has just finished his Heart of Gold. So we could see Orbit potentially taking some global objectives, which is exactly what they're going to do. Second Dragon.
Yeah, here they come for Dragon. Team Solomon got the first one because of the double kill bottom. Now they've actually taken back control, which is pretty impressive because normally Team Solomon is very, very good at holding on to leads since they had grasped one after their first Dragon. It's really, I think, the big thing that's gotten them back into this game has been Odd One putting too much attention to top and Hai being in more places, essentially. And mid has a lot of action going on right now.
Yeah, Hai potentially looking for a dive. Reginald trying to push him off of this tower. Odd One there to help it. However, it's a 3v2 siege, and it looks like Hai and Nubby Pooh Bear are going to be looping around. We could potentially see a dive. Hai getting that extra vision. They have so much vision control, Orbit Gaming, at this point in the game.
And they're thinking about getting blue again a little bit, but they actually are going to back away. Looks like bottom lane's in a bit of danger. Hai's going to continue to farm here, and Chaos still pretty close in that lane. Minion kill-wise, 147 to 142. Ezreal with 2 kills, Corki with 3. So pretty damn close game, if I have to say so. Really impressed by Orbit thus far.
Definitely. This has been a back-and-forth game. Orbit now with a 1K lead. We keep saying this. Orbit has a 1K lead. TSM now has a 1K lead. And now the pendulum has swung again as we see Chaos chunking down Nian. Chaos, if he continues to farm the way he is, TSM could potentially make something very scary happen with this Chaos X special combination and the Odd One. Talking about Odd One putting a lot of attention on top lane as Hai picks off another ward. Odd One's successful gank, which gave them the dragon, was bottom lane. So I'm surprised that he hasn't been more bottom lane, especially after he had gotten that oracles and he'd be able to clear out those wards.
And here it looks like he might be coming top again. He could just be doing the full jungle clear, but if I know his style, he's going to be continuing on. No, okay, they might be starting to back away a little bit. And the big thing here is Nubby Pooh Bear rushed to Banshee's Veil as well, which makes a Nautilus gank substantially more difficult since it's really Nautilus ganks are all about getting your initial spell on them and then comboing, and Reginald might be in a bit of trouble here.
Definitely could be. 3 members of Orbit, Yuzuki able to roam mid, and Reginald being pushed out of his lane again. This is the second time this has happened, and Orbit looks like they're going to try and take out this mid tower.
Yeah, Ahri is even harder to gank than Vladimir, I have to say. That was ridiculous. He 4 blinks straight over the wall, used immediately, just disappeared from 3 people. Really, really good escape by Reggie there.
Yeah, Reggie actually went through Yuzuki with one of those dashes, giving a little bit of a love tap, as we see Lemon Nation grabbing Chaos. Lemon Nation dropping extremely low. However, High coming in to try and turn this gank around. Lemon Nation is going to drop. Great play from Xpecial. However, Chaos getting exhausted. Will High be able to take him out? He is not going to go for this dive. Instead, going to turn on to Xpecial, who almost immediately heals up the damage that he dealt. Great escape from Chaos, and another great kill.
Dude, that was really, really close fight. Saving flashes until just the right moment. They would lose the tower if High decides to take it. And will they try to get this tower and get out of the laning phase into a bit more roaming? And yeah, they're going for it. So they're looking to just end that lane. It's not working out for them. They want to start putting their presence onto the rest of the map.
Yeah, that Xpecial Chaos combination is certainly so difficult to land against. Looks like Dyrus has picked up his Hextech Revolver, so he's going to have that extra sustain. Yep, certainly is. And it looks like he's going to be able to have that extra sustain. Yuzuki has that Spirit Visage, and it looks like he's going to be building into that early Will of the Ancients to get the Spell Vamp globally on his team. And we see Chaos jumping in. Yuzuki is ignited. He's extremely low, and Dyrus is going to be able to pick up the kill on that. Wow!
I wonder if that was the heal that saved him or whether his shield would have died anyway. Oh, man, that was
a close one.
Very clutch, I think.
That was pretty clutch.
Yeah.
We kept talking about that Dyrus, the Rumble shield, providing so much utility in the movement speed, but it's also a pretty darn good shield in general, and it definitely helped saving his life against that Vladimir ult. So TSM righting the ship, so to speak. They're up 400 gold now, 6 kills each, 2 towers to 1 in favor of TSM.
Just want to say that was really good map movement by Team Solomid there. They knew they lost their bottom tower. They knew the odd one was behind, so they said, okay, let's send our Corki and our Sona up top lane, and let's let the odd one get farm from the bottom. That's exactly what they did there, and it caught Orbit completely off guard because Yuzuki saw Nautilus bottom, said, I'm safe, there's no ganks. I'm going to get really aggressive on Rumble. And no, Corki and Sona were right there, and he actually jumped into a 1v3, and that cost them pretty dearly.
It really did cost them. Looking at Chaos, he actually finished his Triforce, and he has his Vampiric Scepter, so he's going to be able to roam and potentially snowball this champion. Corki can be a real late-game terror if he gets farmed, and Chaos certainly is pretty farmed. 167 minion kills, 3-1-3. Looks like Orbit's gonna be able to take this, and TSM can't really do that much about it. However, Chaos getting a little bit more farm.
The farm is really close across almost all the roles here. Both AD carries have their Trinity Force. The supports are both sitting on 2 gold generation items. Even the solo mids have very equal gold, just 186 CS for Ryze, 178 for Reginald. Banshee Veil Rush on Ryze, Abyssal Scepter Rush on Ahri, so they're both going for a lot of magic resist. It's just, they're kind of mirroring each other, which makes sense in a 6-6 game with almost no gold difference.
There really isn't much you can do to separate these teams. Both teams have done a great job of, if they get into a deficit, making a play to draw it even and then potentially get a lead. So all credit to Orbit Gaming, especially for they are playing so well right now.
They're sticking with Team Solomid, which is what a lot of teams can't say. 23 minutes in here, getting extremely close, and there could be a big fight going down here. They're all looking towards the brush. This is going to be huge.
Yeah, Odd One grabbing, getting caught. Nien has an ultimate down on, but a great ultimate from Xpecial. Yuzuki falling extremely low. High is going to get taken out by the Ignite. That was an unbelievable combination by Xpecial and Dyrus. However, Nien will be able to take out Xpecial. That is going to be a 3-4-2 exchange. No, actually, they're going to be able to take out Reginald, so a 3-for-3 exchange, and they are still dead even. But Orbit, about 600 gold ahead.
Yeah, I gotta say, that fight bodes very well for Orbit as they're diving in onto Corki. He just Valkyries away. But the fact that they got crushed by the Rumble, a big jump over by 9, and he's able to take down Corki. Can he lifesteal through the Ignite as well? And he does. Holy crap. Getting back to that last fight, though, they all sat in the Rumble ult and were still able to win the fight. Which means if they have, that was pretty much the best fight Team Solomid was going to get. They had the 5 people there first. They were the ones who initiated, and they got all of their area of effect damage off. The fact that they lost that fight means they are not as strong as Orbit, and the fact that Orbit got the kill and the tower after that means Orbit's now farther ahead, which tells me advantage Orbit.
Definitely Nian, 4-2-2, 198 minion kills. He was really the star of that fight. He was able to get out. Odd1 landed the ultimate on him, so he got the knockup. And Nian was, I believe, ignited as well at the end of that fight, able to 1v1 Chaos. But TSM
we could get another fight almost right away here.
We potentially could. The Dragon pretty low. A Charm going out, popping Nubby Pooh Bear's Banshee Veil, and High gets the steal on that Dragon. Odd1 going in. The snare goes down on him once again. Great Vladimir ultimate. Reginald is exhausted. Nubby Pooh Bear is on a killing spree, and Dyrus is going to be taken out, but Chaos, that terror on Corki, will he be able to get Yuzuki? If he gets one Phage proc, it is over. That was a double kill for TSM. Chaos, there he is. That's the crit. Chaos, that's a triple kill, and Reginald bottom lane cleaning up Lemon Nation. So this has just been a back and forth game since the get-go.
That was a really good rush by Team Solomon going for the Dragon there. They knew that Nian was low from the fight previously, and the Team Solomon could get all of them there. So even though they did not get the Dragon, they still got those 4 kills because Ezreal was not a part of that fight. Nian could not get engaged because he never went back before the previous fight, and TSM recognized that. So a heads-up play there to take it to Orbit, and another fantastic ult by Dyrus. He's putting down that ult in just a backline, and he's cutting off fights almost like in a Nivea wall, which is making people sit in the ult. I haven't really, like, normally Rumble ult gets used vertically rather than horizontally, and those last 2 kind of horizontal Rumble ults have been really, really effective.
We kept talking about TSM wanting to engage in the jungle with those narrow corridors to force Orbit Gaming to, and we see a
He's
Baron.
going for it.
Yep.
What is he going for? He didn't even hit the red buff.
Might have gone for the red buff, but a bit of a miscalculation for Nian, who has been so solid this entire game. Maybe a little bit of a hiccup. We see Nian actually has the BF sword and the pickaxe, so he's pretty close to that Infinity Edge. On the other side, KX has gotten that Bloodthirster. KX really enjoys picking up that Bloodthirster on his AD carries.
That's also a very popular Corki build. Corki has much more spell-based damage and attack damage ratios on kind of his skills. His Gatling gun is, I believe, a quarter of his attack damage, and it ticks very frequently. So attack speed's not as important on Corki. Very, very common Corki build. Looks like Ezreal's going for the Infinity Edge on the other side. He's just not quite there yet. He got a lot of kills in that last fight, and Chaos is going to be real dangerous as this goes on. Reggie also picking up a death cap on Ahri, so their damage went up fairly substantially, and if they can get them sitting in the Rumble ult more often, the Corki and the Ahri will be able to clean up these fights.
They are going to be able to set up something pretty special. Speaking of which, X Special, having that Area of Effect ultimate that can chain so well with that Rumble ultimate.
Yeah.
Looking a little bit more at the items, I actually saw Lemon Nation picking up an Oracles, and he does have that Aegis of the Legion, so they could be interesting ultimate choice. Yeah,
both teams actually going with a double Aegis, and that just means that the support and the jungler get the aura twice. So the 2 holders just get really, really powerful and tanky. And I like that choice on both of them because Nautilus and Shyvana really have to be in the fray, and Blitzcrank of all supports is not really a backline dude, so he has to be in the fray as well. With the Aegis, he can be.
He certainly does, but Lemon Nation actually just burned his ultimate, and I'm not quite sure why.
It's just a short cooldown.
That's true. It actually is already up, and Orb is setting up for potentially a Baron, or at least a Baron bait.
This is a bait. They do not have vision of them. They're going to be looking to check here. They are forced into trying something. They can scout with those missiles, so they did find out where they were. But Orbit is trying to force something here. They still want to fight. They still think they're ahead, and that was really clever catch by Chaos throwing that missile into the brush.
Looks like TSM trying to just push down this mid lane. Orbit not as successful with the steal. However, if they land a Blitzcrank hook, they are certainly going to fight in this one. Nubby Pooh Bear actually using his snare almost exclusively in all of these fights on the Odd One, trying to prevent him from getting into the middle of the fights.
Trying to burst him down almost immediately. And these engagements in the middle are really, really intense because Odd One could land a hook, Blitzcrank could land a hook, Reggie could land a charm, or Nubby Pooh Bear could get someone with a root. Any of those things will start a fight. So the fact that they're not dashing around in the brushes and they're just happily throwing skill shots at each other, as soon as one of these lands, we're going to get a fight. Oh, man, they're so close.
Reginald, so close, just out of range. We've been seeing that a lot. I think Lemon Nation missed 2 or 3 hooks that were unbelievably close. So especially with a Blitzcrank, if he lands that hook, there's going to be some serious trouble for TSM.
And they're actually going to clear the bottom lane. Both of TSM's side lanes are pushing quite hard, so Team Solomon now has the man advantage because Ezreal had to go bottom and clear that wave. They're just all backing up into the tower. I want to see what TSM does with this, whether they just poke. They're still throwing out those skill shots that are missing by fractions of an inch. And,
wow.
Yeah, Ezreal's just back up.
Lemon Nation juking like a boss. He dodged an anchor and a charm and a Dyrus harpoon. So
rather dangerous place to be, but, you know, it'll work.
Yeah, he made it work from, you know, he does have that speed boost on the Blitzcrank. Just continuing to posture. Looks like Nian has finally rejoined orbit. So,
but Vladimir went top to farm as well, so now that they've repushed both lanes, they can rejoin and just kind of hop back into the skill shot factor that they're creating middle here. Super, super close game. Both teams don't really know what kind of power play to make because they're so close together. Neither team wants to force on Baron. Neither team wants to force on towers because they're so, so close. And finally a charm does land, but it's not in the context of a 5v5 fight, and they're just going to blink away from each other.
However, Reginald did force Nian to pop his cleanse, exchanging it for an ignite. So great play. Nian actually having to, I believe he cleansed the charm immediately, and Reginald is just going to heal most of that damage back up. Reginald actually not having any spell vamp in his items, but he does have that passive that's going to allow him that spell vamp.
Ari getting the health back up as well. Looks like Nian might be going back to base to shop a little bit instead of life-stealing. Lemonation going in to clear some wards. Oh, you know what? Lemonation used his ultimate, so he wouldn't get passive ultimate ticks on Baron when he went to sweep for wards, so Baron wouldn't aggro on him. Makes sense.
Yes, that
there
makes
we go.
Perfect sense. I was wondering why. I for a second I thought he was scouting. He just thought that TSM was in a bush or something, or he was going to catch someone out of position. But that makes perfect sense. And when his ultimate came up, he actually ran away from Baron, who was auto-attacking him.
Yeah.
So interesting choice, and just another example of
that
these
is how you play
champions.
Blitzcrank.
Yep, these top-tier champions. And looking at the items, Nian just picked up a very interesting Executioner's Calling.
That's not as strange as you might think. Executioner's Calling has some very useful stats on it that you don't see from other items, and a lot of people have been starting to pick it up after their Infinity Edge plus item plus then Executioner's Calling, because the critical chance and lifesteal is very hard to access in that cheap of an item. So it's a very efficient item to pick up in this scenario, and he's just trying to jump ahead of Chaos in power, because instead of waiting for a big thing like a Bloodthirster or a Phantom Dancer or something like that, he just went for the quick burst of power because they know this game's super close, and they know the next winner of a fight is probably going to take Baron, and that's just why he went with such a mid-game item this late into the game.
It'll also certainly help because TSM has so much healing naturally. They have Chaos, who has the Bloodthirster. They have Reginald, who has that Ari passive.
So they saw Reginald in the bottom lane there, and now they're going 5 onto Baron. They looks like they're going to try maybe a hook or something to start this fight. They're going to peel if TSM comes in here, and we should see a fight. Man, when is it going to start? Do it.
I don't know. Lemon Nation potentially go over here. There's the Shirelius being popped. Dyrus getting knocked up. A great ultimate by Yuzuki. However, Lemon Nation is going to drop, and Odd One is going to follow. Great ultimate from Xpecial, and Chaos is on a rampage, but Nubby Pooh Bear able to pick up Reginald. So all in all, another 2-for-2 exchange. All teams dropping extremely low. However, Orbit Gaming still ahead in gold. 47,800 gold to 45,900 gold.
Man, these fights are still so close. That was just another 2-for-2. They're both just going to end up backing away, farming up a little bit, and then we're going to see this recycled. Team Solomon getting a dragon out of this 2-for-2 exchange, so they get the slight advantage out of all these exchanges. And with all this happening, normally I'd say, oh, this is a huge advantage for the team with the Kog'Maw, or the team with the Vayne, or the team with the Karthus. But this game, I'm not really sure, because they both have some pretty good late-game characters. Chaos and Rumble, Corki and Rumble are going to combo tons of AoE damage. Sona is better late-game support than Blitzcrank. Ryze scales up amazingly well. So does Vladimir. We talked about Ezreal goes crazy. If anything, there's a very slight advantage for Orbit, but it's not one of those clear-cut things where it's a strategy they're definitely going for. These teams are just really evenly matched in comp and in gold and in kills and everything else right now.
Yeah, all credit to TSM and Orbit for crafting such solid, consistent teams that are going to be able to scale well. It's really just going to come down to the play. As we enter late game, all champions are pretty much approaching level 18, so they're all going to be grouping up and looking for that big fight, that Baron, that inhibitor. And at this moment, I can't tell. I think if TSM is able to land a good Sona ult, they're going to be able to steamroll this game because Dyrus is just going to be able to lay his Rumble ult right on top of that. But Yuzuki has been spot on with his Vlad ults.
These mid lane exchanges are just so dangerous because when the teams are even like this, if one person gets picked off out of position and a fight starts in a strange manner, they're going to just lose the game off of that because the 5v5 clashes have just been so close. And there's Reginald actually getting caught. This could be it.
Oh, no, he gets caught. He's down to 25%. Chaos is extremely low as well, having to flash out. There is the Rumble ultimate. Dyrus going to drop. Yuzuki had a great ultimate. However, TSM really, really low. Lemonation may be able to get a catch. X Special being chased down by Yuzuki. There's the grab from Lemonation onto Reginald, and Reginald still alive somehow. He gets out with a sliver of health, but Yuzuki finally able to pick off X Special, and that went horribly, horribly wrong for TSM.
Oh, man. It was Reginald getting caught, even though he did escape immediately. He was not a part of this fight, and Yen is on the hunt. Guessed wrong brush. Reginald's going to get away.
Oh, no. Nien realized that he had guessed wrong, so he immediately going for those double golems. Could come back. A couple pings going down. Reginald actually showing himself, but not in the view of Orbit. I'm not quite sure what Reginald is doing at this point.
He actually thinks that they're trying to do Baron, potentially, and he might be trying to get a scout or find a low person, or he's just paranoid about getting found in a brush. Getting back to that fight, though, good win by Orbit, but they took enough damage and they were not able to finish off the ace, so they didn't feel comfortable going for Baron because Reginald was going to be poking from over the wall and such. Really close escape there. Just, man, really close game draws. Even after all these close teamfight victories by Orbit, they're still only up by 3,000 gold.
They are starting to pull away, however. We saw that lead being about 1,000 gold or so, and Orbit and TSM were trading back and forth, but Orbit starting to pull away, and especially if they're going to be able to take this Baron. And Nubby Pooh Bear picked up a Warmogs.
Yep, he did pick up a Warmogs.
Wow.
I'm a little confused. I would have went for a Rod of Ages, personally.
That is maybe...
he likes the tankiness. He has a lot of magic resistance
certainly
coming in. He has an Abyssal Scepter and a Banshee's Veil, so his magic resist is very, very high. He has enough mana coming through from his Tear of the Goddess for his liking, and he's not expecting any damage from Corki. That's the only thing I can think of because he has a ton of magic resist. There's no other magic resist items he could build to get more tankiness, and he just wanted straight up health. So he's just maximizing his effective health against magic damage because, you know, he's not expecting damage from Chaos. If Chaos kicks on Rise, he's going to crush him.
Absolutely, and also we saw in that last fight, Chaos went in to help when Reginald had gotten caught, and Orbit jumped all over him, dropping to about 20% health immediately.
Yeah, both Chaos and Reginald got really low at the start of that fight, and that was the big reason Orbit was able to take it over. Just their two main damage dealers were not involved in the majority of the fight, and it just allowed Nian to come in at the end and clean up. And here we go, like, we're going to see another skill shot fest back and forth, and whoever gets picked is going to start the fight. I don't think Orbit's confident enough to start a Baron. Pokefest. That's really what it is right now.
I am speechless at this moment. However, Nubby Pooh Bear has been nailing his snares, and those last two exchanges were started by either a flash snare or Reginald being caught out of position and him being able to get that snare. His flash is up, so we could potentially see Nubby Pooh Bear diving in, getting that flash on someone who's out of position.
And here they go, actually scouting around Baron. They're looking for a fight. The fact that they're clearing wards and then sticking around in this area means they want to battle and brawl with TSM here. Poking around in the brushes. They're getting seen by that ward. And, man, might try to force something here.
Yeah, there's the speed boost from Lemonation. Does not go for the hook. Orbit content to sit back, poke a little bit down, a little bit more onto TSM. TSM actually has fantastic poke. KX actually landing a big one missile onto Lemonation and chunking him pretty significantly. Uh-oh, Nubby Pooh Bear getting caught out, drops extremely low. There's the fight. Dyrus is at half health. Chaos exhausted. He is going to get chunked down, and a great play from Xpecial. However, Xpecial drops almost immediately. High is so low with the Ignite, but Orb steamrolling that fight, and they are almost certainly going to take Baron off of this.
That was really good there. They landed this charm onto Nubby Pooh Bear, but they had nothing but magic damage to follow up with, so he really didn't take that much since he has so much more, and that Warmogs. Now it's about 5 really low health people trying to do Baron with Reginald trying to stop them. I don't think Reginald's going to be able to fully stop this because Nine's just going to force him away, and yeah, they're most likely picking up this Baron after the team fight. There it is. Going to be big for them. Now they can push.
39 minutes in, first Baron to Orbit Gaming. They now have a 7,000 gold lead, and they are certainly in the driver's seat of this one. I feel like TSM is going to have a perfect team fight to come back on this. I want to talk a little bit more about that Warmogs, actually, because it reminds me of, as we see,
look at
wow,
that dash.
So much damage on Nyan, and that is actually a delayed ace.
He blinked over the Reginald charm to avoid it. That was perfect by Nyan there.
Incredible play from Nyan, and incredible play from Orbit in this game one, as he's going to push down this mid tower with the help of Nubby Poober. The build that Nubby Poober is running kind of reminds me a little bit of the Frog and Anivia, where you get the health for the survivability, and you know you have so much damage. There's a grab knock-up onto the odd one. He gets snared, and he is going to drop. They're forcing the ultimate coming down onto Dyrus, and there's the Vlad ult. Chaos going so low, and Orb is content to dive this. Great play from Xpecial to keep himself alive a little bit longer, but really just delaying the inevitable. Orbit Gaming in complete control.
Yen is actually falling or getting pretty far ahead here. That Executioner's calling paid off in those last few fights. He's picking up the kills. He's now 9-2. He's working on another BF sword item, but they could push through for the win right here now. They've taken down enough players from TSM that they should be able to just push through to end this, and this could be game one to Orbit.
Dyrus not actually having his ultimate. Chaos is trying to drop someone desperately. Reginald landing another charm onto Nubby Poober, but that is game one going to Orbit Gaming. Congratulations. 1-0 in favor of Orbit. That was a bit of a surprise.
That was good stuff by Orbit. Like I was saying before the tournament, these lower, traditionally second-tier teams have gotten a lot better. And I think TSM is still a little rusty after that loss to Azubu Blaze and MLG. They need to pick it up in these next two games, because even though this tournament, as far as Season 2 points, doesn't matter for Team Solomid, there's still a lot of money on the line. There's still a lot of practice on the line. And if they're playing like this against Orbit, that doesn't bode well for